Mandy, you're ready. Hi, welcome back to another episode of She Sells Weed. Thank you so much to all of our listeners and our watchers that come to the podcast to come hang out with us again. First, I'd like to thank our sponsors for helping make this happen. The Pocket Dispensary, Delta Boys. Without you guys, we cannot be doing this. So go check out those stores. I got some really awesome products. We got some really good buyers for those stores too. And we have a very amazing guest on today with tons of experience in the sales world. So thank you, Gina Alvarez, for being here with us. I'm looking forward to a really good conversation and learning from you also, because we all have our different strengths and our different goals in this industry. And I'm really excited to have you on and have you share your experience and what you've been through throughout the years. So it's been years, a long time.
Likewise. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. I was so excited to do this with you ladies. So yes.
Well, I'm going to apologize to everybody that's listening that I've got a bad allergy. So leave my voice today. It sounds a little hoarse. I'm not sick. I just got the allergies, but it's great. Very, very excited for you to be here, Gina. Honestly, like, we talked back when, you came in here to sell to me as a buyer and sales rep, and I just felt this like energy with you. And then you were talking about your own content creation. And I was like, man, this is the lady I would like to feature on the show, is that you really do exuberate like all of She Sells Weed, right? The content you're selling. How many brands are you selling now?
18.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, 18 brands. And I would really say I really have to sell all of my brands. I don't have like, a major branded besides Royal Blunts, but it's been a journey, and it's been a journey to figure out which ones they're going to stay, which ones are board leaders, which ones want to provide marketing. So a lot of different metrics to it all. And yeah.
Organized. You must be a very organized person.
Yeah. I think I'm just so honored to be in the position I'm in, because I don't even feel like I'm working a day in my life.
Yeah.
And I just thrive off what I'm doing. And I love being out and being mobile and meeting great people like you guys. And I love my job. I love being with people. I love being solution orientated. So I love helping. And there's a lot of help that goes in with sales. You don't just sell something and drop it off. There's so much more back end work. And yeah, I just love that. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, can we get a little history on you? Where do you come from? Where do you hail from? What got you to California? Because I know you got a little bit of an accent.
I do.
So I would like to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I'm originally born and raised from Chicago, Illinois, the suburbs, a little farm town, then moved into the city, downtown Chicago at 21. And I patented and labeled a hair extension line. I was in the beauty world. I opened a store. I actually went to China to find my manufacturer for the hair extensions. Yeah, because back then in like 07, 08, 09, the internet was not where it's at current day. So yeah, I thrived in the beauty world for a very long time. And then I came out to California for the weed world. And, traditional weed.
Going on in Chicago in terms of we were in the scene.
Yeah, there was a little bit. Yeah, definitely in the scene there. And then decided to come this way because it would just be easier to get it back and forth and to make bigger connections and do things like that. So I made my way out this way. Actually put my hands into the soil, did a little bit of cultivation, not to the minks of like Jack's, but just being out there, transplanting, hanging, cutting down, never really trimming, just kind of doing things like that. And it taught me a lot about the plant, the medicinal purposes of the plant, as opposed to just opening up a turkey bag and trying to sell it.
Yeah.
And I really
am helping people. It's a different level.
And what was really cool about it is these growers are hard workers. Like everyone's like, oh, you just plant it and it grows. I'm like, fuck no. You get aphids, you get an infestation, you don't pull the tarp, or, you're brewing your fish brew. If you're doing living soil, it's not right. You didn't flush it right. I mean, there's so much money and time and energy that goes into that crop. Yes, I know. Please, all hell. I know.
well, without them, we don't have anything to sell, right?
Right.
And it's nothing good to sell if they don't put the energy and effort into it. If they think it's just going to be a water, add a little fertilizer, and then I'm a millionaire. Yeah, good luck. It's that easy.
I know, and I know all about that. So putting money in, taking money out, starting a legal brand. So then tried starting a legal brand out here. It was called Golden Blaze, and that was back in 2009. Not 2009. That was in 2018, I think.
That's when things were starting.
Yeah, 2017. Yeah, 2017, possibly. Yeah. And so it was really hard. Didn't, self-funded, didn't have millions of dollars. It was just, it was really hard getting all the pounds that were grown towards the brand, and then realizing, oh, there's terms, you got to wait. And then I'm like, in the Bay Area, and they're like, hey, we need your rent payment. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Right. One of the hardest things in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. We did the first Hall of Flowers show. So that was amazing. It was really cool to be. In Santa Rosa, first ever show.
Okay.
Yeah, the first ever show. So it was cool to be a part of that. That was like, one of the founding shows, and just to kind of see the industry from then to current day is insane.
That was so different for us back then.
Right?
And now we're like, what is
I
this?
know. It was really so cool.
Yeah. See, for me, Hall of Flowers just reminds me of like 2014 to like 16 when the iTime events used to
right. Yeah.
That just all reminds me of that. The only difference now is instead of it being like directly for the consumers, it's just industry.
Yeah.
I think that they're doing a good job of changing that, and like what they did with this last Santa Rosa show where they let the public come in.
Yeah. That was really cool.
Very cool.
It was an experience.
It
was cool to see people get to meet the brands and who makes the brand and the energy that's put into it. And just that understanding too that some of these brands are just making it. They don't have millions of dollars. You're not wealthy because you have a brand. Typically it's the other way around, and it's like you want to get into those other states and try to figure out how to diversify. So I think it's so cool.
And I also think that it really brought it back to the culture, because I never really noticed this. Somebody had mentioned to me when the last Hall of Flowers scene, we just had the one who they toured, that they would see the posts on Instagram and they were just like, this is such an exclusive thing. Yeah, it's like, and then the second day, it can be open to industry, but it's a lot of money to get a ticket. So it's not accessible to people. And I never really realized that posting is like other people are watching on the other end, be like, oh, would you like to go? Like, yeah, I wish it's something that I could be a part of.
Yeah.
And then opening it to the public, definitely let it be able to bring it back. They let us, for this last one for Santa Rosa, they sent some of the retailers like discounted tickets for customers and stuff.
Oh, that was cool.
Customers that were good. They're like our regular ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you should go to this. Like, if you don't go, you will regret it. And like, they don't normally let people in.
Yeah.
And so you should go. And those people coming back in, they were like so excited, and like they just felt like they got to be around their people and smoke, consume.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just be a part of it. And I think that is what's so special about weed that's slightly missing in the sales, is that there used to be this community part of it where it was like, it was exciting to get together with everybody. And now that that's kind of disappeared, it seems like there's just this big disconnect between the brands, customers,
right?
People want, people don't want,
right? And
I hope that Hall of Flowers again does that, opens it up to the public.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm always telling the brands what the customers are saying, right? And they halfway believe me, right? Because it's my own opinion. But when they got to sit in front of a customer and actually hear them say, I love your product, or I smoked your product, bro, and it lit it up and the whole thing burnt up in a half of a second.
Yeah.
$50 on that. Like, I'm glad that brands got to have that exchange.
Right.
Because then it lets them know that, like, there's improvement to be made, and like, let's make that improvement so that we can make a better product for the customer.
Yeah.
It drives the industry,
Yeah.
And I also had I had to handle an issue personally where a sales rep was, we just didn't really understand. They pulled the brand out of nowhere. And so I went and found the owner, because in the industry, as you've probably seen from being sales for so long, there's many different kinds of sales reps. And there's some that are, very interesting people. I'm just going to keep it like that because I don't want to make it
Oh, I love this. I like hearing all this. Tell me more, baby. I love hearing this. Come on, baby. Let's go.
You're very well put together.
I love hearing this.
And you're representing their brand. And that is what we see as the dispensaries and the buyers, the person selling as the representation of that brand. So when you come in, it's super important that, you present yourself a certain way. And so, just from doing it for so long and being successful at what you do to bringing this loyalty and like these brands, 18 brands want to work with you. Like, that's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, I know one other sales rep that has like quite a few brands stacked up, but it's not like yours. Like when your email comes across to me, I mean, there's just so many menus out there. It's like looking at a Cannabis. It's like, oh, you're carrying all this. Like, okay, cool. Wow. I did not even know that, So, and you're carrying some of these brands they're not large brands, but they're not really seen a lot. You don't really see them a lot. And so it's like, it's nice to see that they're working with you because I think you're very smart. And so
thank you.
To work.
Yeah, it's been pretty innovating. It's, I had the licensed brand, didn't work out. And then, the group that I actually gave the licensed brand to, I didn't know anything about legal logistics, distribution, nothing. If what I knew now, I would not have done then, but I didn't know that. So
I would just say though, nobody knew.
This was brand new.
Starting 2000.
This was before Cannabis even hit. Yeah. Cannabis wasn't even around at this point.
Yeah. So it was like herbal.
So it was herbal. It was River was a big one. Herbal. River had just closed a little bit after into it. It was herbal, and then that was really it. I mean, at that point I was selling Jeter, but Jeter wasn't even where it was at currently. No one even heard of Jeter. We were using Dreamfields which is Jeter, their distro, is a distribution, but they weren't to the capacity at where they're at currently. And so when I was showing that up here in NorCal, it was a SoCal brand, and NorCal was still not really wanting to pick up LA brands. And it was a big Jeter, like that, kind of looked like the baseball bat, the 2 gram. It was pretty expensive. Prices are completely different now, but it was a little bit expensive. And you're like, oh, I'm not taking that SoCal brand. And no, so it was challenging. And so I realized, so anyways, I came here and I gave the brand to sales team. No sales were being made. So I called them up and I was like, hey, what's going on? I got bills to pay. What's happening here? Very nervous. And I was like, I need samples. I need to go sell the weed. And, the director of sales was like, well, have you sold anything before? Like, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, I've been in sales my whole life. Yes. Selling legal weed? No, but I'll figure it out.
Well, so not.
Yeah.
Samples, they still need to.
Yeah. And it was funny because I didn't even have a packaged jar or anything because it was all, it's metric to whatever. Yeah. So I met the driver, went and picked up the box, and I had only lived here for about, at that point, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months, like full time in the Bay, in the East Bay. And I went out and I knocked on every single door, Richmond, Oakland, San Francisco, Sacramento, went everywhere. And I had great success. I sold the 200 pounds in like 4 months.
Wow.
And then the company's like, hey, why don't you sell our products? You did so well at selling your stuff. So I was like, okay. And I remember running around like a maniac, and my commission checks were like $800. It was so bad. It was so bad. And, but I know with being in sales, it's a pipeline and it takes time and build up and momentum. And I wasn't really selling anything that was like, I don't want to say big branded names. So everything I was selling, no one knew. And I would go into certain accounts. It would be so funny. And they'd be like, Gina, you're very smart. You know what you're doing. Like what you guys said, you put yourself together. You got to get good brands. Get good brands and I'll work with you. Yeah. I can't be buying this booth because I was always selling value-driven stuff. Not at that point, not real value, but it was cheaper stuff, And
even in this day where it's just so stuff.
Yes.
You can, there's even the value stuff has to be, there's certain qualifications.
I know.
The standard.
I know. So, and you know what I told that buyer that said this to me, and I won't shout out his name, but he would probably remember this conversation. He's like, man, Gina, you're selling all this stuff. You really got to sell this stuff.
You got to work for it.
Yeah, that's what he said. And I said, you know what? I actually never really thought about it because I'm just such a hustler and I just get up and I just got to make crap happen because I don't have anyone, if I fall, who's going to catch me. So I just do it. And I'm like, and I actually like the hustle of it, you know? And so now coming like a little into current day, I worked for heavy hitters, you know, for a little while, Mammoth, and they were great. Nothing was wrong with it. It was awesome. And I was really honored to take that opportunity with that distribution because I wanted to feel how it felt to sell a brand, to sell a heavy hitters cart, or to have Alamora or Lift Ticket.
Confidence a little bit.
It did, but it made me realize that's not who I am. And not in a bad way, nothing against anything. It's just myself. I like that I bring these brands to life. I like that I shelve them. I like that, you know, I have to actually maintain and not just take an order. I have to go out and like solidify why you need to order this, or kind of explain to you a marketing pitch or a campaign. And with those brands, they kind of just sell themselves. But now with the market changing, they do need a lot more help, I feel, because they are still a value ticket. I mean, a higher value ticket. And, you know, the economy is kind of hurting right now. So some of those brands that never really did as much promotions or sales, now they're kind of teetering into it a little bit more. And you guys would know this is running, you know, retail. But I liked it, but I really like selling what I'm selling and doing it the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, I love this conversation. And it hits close to my heart.
Yeah.
I have a small brand. And being a small brand in comparison to these larger brands, so it's cool that you have the experience of like both, you know, people that are just coming up, don't have the marketing.
Right.
Yeah. People that are very big. And then in between, regardless of how big or small you are, the time it takes to actually get into the store. It's like,
yes,
a lot of the other sales reps out there, like, how do you get discouraged? I can get discouraged going in and being like, man, this is taking a really long time.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with, you know, just the emotion?
So that's a great question. And I use this word and you'll kind of understand when I tell you a little about my past. I was groomed so well for this sales in general because from the age of 9 till 27, I walked the Verway runway pregnant with my son in my stomach for bridal week in New York.
That's super cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So I started in beauty pageants and it got really political, meaning, you know, if we didn't donate, you know, $15,000 to this pageant, I wasn't going to be a runner up. And I didn't come from a lot of money. I truly didn't. My
whole system is like everywhere.
Like, yeah, it was.
It's so fucking rich.
I know. My aunt was a former Miss Illinois in 85. And so she was always like, oh, Gina's got a little of an exotic look. We got to put her into something, right? So she did it with me. And I'm blessed that she did it because it has built me to be who I am today. All the rejection I took. And it's great because I think as women, everyone's going to say, oh, she looks like this or her thighs like this or whatever. But when you kind of get that, I don't take a no. You know what I mean? Like when I'd walk in somewhere, they'd be like, you need to lose 10 pounds. I know this is blunt. I know this is like hard for some people, but I would have to go back and lose the 10 pounds so I could get my $10,000 check and walk the runway or do what I had to do. I had a gap in between my teeth, had to have my dad go spend $18,000 on my veneers at age 16, you know? But it was a career and it put me in positions in life that some people will never, ever have. And I'm blessed for it. Yeah. And so that has really put me to be able to accept rejection, you know, and I, you know, it was a wild life, I would say, having that at a young age. I've seen a lot of stuff that made me grow up a little bit faster, but I would not say not to do it if someone has the opportunity to do it. You know, I would just think, you know, it's got to be watched really well. The parents need to be involved because there's a lot of weird shit. Yeah. Like the stuff you hear on the internet and all that.
Weird is real.
Yeah. I did make it to a Diddy party, you guys.
I know. I heard you say this on somewhere else.
I did. I was at a Diddy party, a white party in the Hamptons. Me and a few models.
The inside.
The inside. Here we go, you guys. Are you ready?
Yeah.
But we got asked to leave at like 12:01. And in New York, you don't even start till like 11 o'clock. And I looked at my girlfriends. I'm like, why are they kicking us out? This is so weird. And back then there weren't that many cell phones. There were flip phones. It's not where it is today is not then. We had to sign papers to go in and stuff. But now when I think about it, I'm like, well, I don't know. I just figured they all wanted to do drugs and they didn't want, us towards no one seeing it and gossiping. But yeah, just interesting stuff like that. So so
just that money, power. I was afraid of money for a really long time because I seen all these, rich people just go wild.
Yeah.
And, and then I thought that it is really important for really good people to be in places of power because you need those good people.
Yes.
And they don't make it. Like good people don't make it because they're not about that.
Right.
They're not trying to subscribe to it and play along. Like this is
right.
my theme.
Right.
Like you guys are doing something completely different.
Yeah.
But I do believe that happened one day. Put that out. No,
humility too.
Yeah, I grew up the same way. Like it's like money for me was always like the root of all evil and all this stuff. And then I decided that I wanted to have a different relationship with money.
Yeah.
So I started looking at other people that have money.
Yes.
Don't do evil things with it. And they do good with it.
Yeah.
And they know their friends and they can build all these people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I know that power and responsibility is very scary to people. And lots of money comes a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
It comes to down to who you are as your core is really going to come through when you got $1 million in the bank account, right? And it's like, I want to show people that you can have good stuff. Not all money is evil.
Yep.
Yes, you can turn money evil, but money is nothing more than a source of energy. Right?
Exactly.
There's energy and there can be good energy.
Yes.
And you know what? I want to cultivate more good energy. So yeah, I want money. I want all the money because I know I'll do better with the money than that person down the street.
Yep.
So that's how I got over my money kind of nasty taste in my mouth. I had a different mindset about it. Was that I'm going to get up and get the money because I don't want them to have it.
Yeah.
I don't do evil things with it.
I agree.
So it's interesting to be around that community or that industry. Yeah, it is. The South interest.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little wild. So, I mean,
I think too, like what you're saying though, about like the rejection, like accepting no, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to correct what you say, but I don't know if it's so much of accepting no, but it's not being disturbed mentally by it.
Right.
It's not
taking the no.
It's like, oh, just whatever. It's like,
I
don't care. You said no, I'll be back tomorrow.
It's taking the no and figuring out how to make it a yes.
Yeah.
And so with modeling and fashion, it was just always change hair color, lose weight, blah, 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 so that was, I don't want to say easy to do, but that's just what I went back and did. Yeah, it was in my control. And so I love it. And I think that it taught me, proper etiquettes, I could never have a tattoo. I couldn't have 2 diamond earrings in. I couldn't do anything like that. I couldn't even have my nails painted. I'd walk in if my nails were like this, they'd be Gina, and they'd be, right away on my nails and cutting them down like
it's about perfect natural beauty.
Yeah. And when I modeled, I had to look like that person on the cover. The editing was not where it's at today. So when I actually have tear sheets and centerfolds and all this fashion stuff, I had to be that person. The editing was not where it's at today. So that's why on my Instagram, you always see me, I say filter free nation because I embrace natural beauty. I embrace be who you are. I understand a little, if you got a zit and things, but I mean, some of these filters, these girls and just people in general, you see them and then you don't see them. And I'm like, holy cow, like at what it's false. Yeah. One of the conventions I sat up at the bar and this guy's like, Gina sells NorCal. Hey. And I'm like, hey. And we started chatting. He goes, you look just like your Instagram. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I look like my Instagram? Yeah. He goes, there's a lot of girls that don't look like their Instagrams. I'm like, oh, okay, good. I'm like, good job, marketing crew. Keep it up.
What an experience, like you had to be successful because like I did all these things.
Yeah.
I put the work in, like you worked for that,
Mm-hmm.
And it does, like when you were caring for yourself, like that takes time when you're like doing things and like making sure like that, time that we have in the day, right?
Yeah. Very limited.
Part of the time and effort that you're putting into your career.
Yeah. So, and that's like kind of when I got to this point now and I started branding myself and it was really a big leap of faith and just kind of rallying with some people in the industry in the space and asking them, hey, what do you think? Because everyone would say, Gina, why don't you have your own brand? You sell so much stuff. And no offense, but the stuff you sell is not like, I'm buying it because I like you and I want to support you. but why don't you start your own brand? And that's fine that they say that, but the jars, putting the money up front, the distribution, then ordering it, then the metric, then the invoicing. And so I've done all of that. I know all the cogs. So that's just
make pennies.
Yes.
You make pennies per jar. That's why everybody's on that. It needs to be volume in order for us to make anything. And then it takes us so long to climb.
I know.
Make volume.
I know. Oh, honey, I know. So that's why I was like, I'm not interested in that. You know, I like telling brands, giving them direction on what they need and how to operate. And I mean, I have brands call me all the time and they're like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. And now I've kind of gotten to the capacity where I'm like, I have to tell people no. Yeah. And I really don't like telling people no, I don't. But you know what? I've grown so much within my job and in my knowledge and experience that I just don't have time to try to tell people how to do something and they just don't come back with it. And then they're throwing it at me. We have 368 units and those need to be sold at $12. I'm like, I told you to make it for $5. And now it's $6 too expensive and you're not going to clearance it. And there's a freshness date on it. So now we actually worked for free.
Yeah.
And that's
shelf life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like, just because you're good at sales doesn't mean you're good at running a brand. I think
correct.
To run a brand is a different type of person and it has nothing to do with being good at sales because
correct.
You're gonna hire somebody like you to sell your product. Maybe in the first couple months you might be going out on your own.
Yeah.
For the most part, being a brand and being a visionary in that kind of way and being able to manage that kind of finance and stress it's very different than sales.
Yeah.
Very different. I only know that because like I watch people create brands,
right?
People fail at creating brands, and I get a lot of this too because I've been in the industry. I go out in the world, and people are like, "Oh, you're gonna start a brand," and I'm like, "No, I'm starting a podcast."
I'm starting a podcast. She sounds weird.
I'm not gonna do a weed brand like that because, like, we might collab later in the future.
Right?
It's like that would be really fun, but I don't really want to do that because I wouldn't want to start a water brand. I wouldn't want to start a makeup line. I wouldn't want to have any of that because to me, that just does not sound fun. It sounds very
taxing,
stressful.
Yep.
And not fun. And it's a 40% chance that you will be successful. And that, to me, I'm not much of a gambler, but 40% odds is pretty low.
Yeah.
Pretty low of a chance. So I'm going to put my odds into a place where I think it's better spent, for me, especially with my knowledge and things like that.
Right.
Same for you. It's like your time's so much better spent, like,
I know,
helping all of these brands than having one brand.
Right. And I think with the deficit in the market currently and, evolving within this market and understanding the needs and the wants of my retailers. So I'll call my retailers my clients. Understanding the needs and the wants of my clients and trying to be the front runner of helping you guys as retailers to kind of strategically understand what's going on in the market. Because I've spoke with a lot of different retail owners and it's gotten to a point now with my relationships. Yes, I speak with buyers, but I do know the owners now. And now we have these higher level conversations on, hey, what can we do? How can I help you? What are you seeing in here? Why is your store declining? What's up? And being able to have these conversations and having the knowledge and the tools to implement different systems is awesome. And that's why I tell people at the end of the day, I'm not just a sales rep. A sales rep is someone who goes out with a piece of paper or their laptop, opens it up. I've got 6 of this and 6 of that. How many would you like? I am more geared towards solution oriented problems, pivoting very quick and helping bring back more revenue within the store.
Becoming like a sales consultant.
Yeah, a little bit.
And brands, it's,
yeah.
You collected probably so much information at this point where it's just, it pours out and you can't even.
Yeah. And I love it.
I think at this point too, like we need to work together because this industry,
yes,
very rewarding in many ways.
Right.
Personally, spiritually, but as far as the way that you like have to run your business, it's very difficult.
It is
run in this industry. So there was like another one, Gold Flora, it was like 100.
Yeah, they just went into receivership. Yeah.
And just as you're seeing all these different things, like, I definitely think that it is very important that the people, like, we all have to, make this work.
Right.
Have to be successful by working together and like doing different things. How, since you've seen it throughout the years, what are some of the top things like to be able to work in this, and have you seen the change throughout the years and going and visiting all these other dispensaries?
Yeah. So I love that we got to that point. I've seen a lot of it. And the change has became really bad, like really, really bad. I've had stores that closed due to taxes. I mean, one of my really, 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 really close friends, closed down due to taxes, and they came up with a couple $1 million, and it still wasn't good enough. And that's just one store I'm talking about. There's multiples, and it's pretty sad. I think the taxation is a little bit higher, and I hear that in July 1st they're gonna raise it again. Yeah, raise it again.
There are petitions out. Cal Normal has one people can sign.
Yeah. That's when you play a big role.
Trying to pass legislation.
Right.
I got sick, so I didn't go to lobby day this year.
Oh.
All of it. But, a lot of people are out there, like at the Capitol, trying to work. So
yeah,
shout out all the activists out there.
That is great. Because if this tax does go up, hon, that is for San Jose. They are the highest tax bracket right now. They're going to be like 42 or 43% tax. So you go and you buy something, and 40-something% of that is going to a tax.
So for every 100, you're going to spend an extra 4.
It's insane.
Yeah. So just real talk back on that. So what Cal Normal wants help with AB 564. So you guys should go ahead and look that up. Jump on the Cal Normal website. Sign that. Get involved, because it's going to affect everybody.
Yeah.
The consumer. It's affecting the brand.
Right.
It's affecting the industry. And Metric or DCC just put out this whole campaign about like real stores. I don't know if you guys have heard about each.
Yeah, I sort of have a side.
Yeah, that were legit.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did hear about that.
They also did a survey within that when they went to do that, because they're really trying to combat the traditional market that's affecting our industry, and they found that there's about 25% consumers in California out of the whole population, but 60% of them are going to the traditional market.
Yeah.
40% are.
But it's because of the taxes.
And it's going to get worse.
So I have a place in Oakland. I go to a client, and when I see people come in who I can tell, because I used to sell in the traditional market, I know why they're going in there to buy the work. I know what's happening. So I go up to them sometimes. I'm standing, I'm waiting for the buyer. I'm like, hey, what are you coming in for? What are you shopping today? Oh man, this new release just hit of so-and-so. I just want to come and get the actual jar and see what the fuck this shit is. I don't shop here. Taxes are so expensive, and they're only really going there because they want to then go source that weed and grab the bags and sell because the only way to make money on a pound right now is to sell a bag with it or something. If it's AAA, a AAA is now what we could used to sell for $4K, $5K, all that is down to like 13, 14, 1500. You take it to another state, you might be at 16, 17, 18, and you got a nice little bag or something. So it's those people. And it's kind of really sad to hear that, you know what I mean? Because now too, with this fentanyl problem, I've heard of some people that have gotten laced weed and kids, teenagers. 16, 17, 18. It's very sad. And so even when I go to these events, I'm very picky on what I smoke because I am a migraine patient. I like living soil. I don't know what's flushed with. I do roll my own stuff because I don't want to be a victim of something like that. Not saying anyone would do that to me or when we, even if I were to go do a street drug, I would just want to know what's happening with it because that's not a part of my day-to-day life. And I don't need to die over something that's just to go have a good time for 4 hours.
I've seen it happen more in other states.
Yeah.
Really than California.
Right.
But, like, it is so important to get tested.
Correct.
Seen.
So that's why I always, tell people just go to the dispensary. You know what I mean? Like, don't just, and especially the kids, the 18, 19, 20s and stuff. Just go get your, just go.
$30.
Right. And I'm a big advocate for that because it's like, there's so much potential in these lives and it just to go get high, it's just brutal.
It really is scary that you touch on that because that was something I talk to people about all the time. It's like,
right.
I'm 38 years old. Right? I was partying we were all taking this e-pills and stuff. And the worst thing that would happen to you is like somebody sold you something that didn't work.
Right.
Or it was laced with meth and you're like spun up all night, whatever. But nowadays, I mean, the idea of taking a pill and dying, that's
I know. It's a real thing.
It's really scary. So yeah, I mean, we are legal drug dealers at the end of the day. And for me, providing safe access to people.
Love it.
And that also goes for what brands are in the legal space. I'm not going to name any names. But there's a couple brands that have been popping for things that are unacceptable, which
right.
Pesticide testing.
Yeah, I know you're big on that. I always see your pesticide charts go up. I'm like, Jax is on them. Watch out, people. But it's good though. No, it's good that I'll call that. I mean, you know,
as a grower, as an ex-grower, will say, because I don't grow nowadays. I will get back to that at some point in my life. It's definitely my number one passion. But for me, it's laziness.
Yeah.
This industry at the time and place that we are is a pioneering space, and we should not be operating in any kind of lazy ways. Because if you're operating lazy now, what's it going to be when it's really big? Like, how lazy are you going to be? And using pesticides in this day and age, especially if you go look up what those pesticides are, come on, man. Those sort of things aren't even sold in the state.
Yeah.
You can't even buy that in the state. So that means you are intentionally leaving the state to go buy something to put on a plant because you just suck as a grower. Like, go get better, dude. Go to Oxford, go get grow a degree. I don't know what you need to do, but that is unacceptable to me. And so I don't even spray for bugs in my own garden. I know how to use what's called a standing army. I use beneficial insects. I'm really big on that. Yes, you have to provide space for them, but I would much rather do that than spray my plants. Plus, I love hash. And you spray anything on those trichomes, it's in the hash forever. And when they're going to wash it, it's going to be very apparent. When they're going to press it, it's going to be very apparent. And I just don't want to ever do that.
Right.
Like neem oil included. Right. Soybean oil, all of these oils that they're recommending. But also,
so you're a big ladybug girl.
No, actually, ladybugs suck. They poop all over your weed.
Oh,
that bugs at all.
There you go.
Yeah, you brought up aphids, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bug called Chrysopa.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pre-bug stage before it turns into a green lacewing, which we see in our gardens.
Yeah.
They're really cool. They eat about 1,000 aphids a day. You could put 1 million. You can actually do the math. Like, okay, I have so many plants. There's so many aphids.
Right.
Every leaf, X amount of dollars, right? You can do the math to figure out how many bugs, but you can eradicate aphids within a week by applying these bugs.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it's just crazy. And it's cool to watch them eat.
Yeah.
The aphid. And they like stab it on their head.
I love that.
They suck out the juice of the aphid because aphids are just full.
Oh, they're just,
They just suck them dry and leave them just their carcasses and just move on.
Wow.
I'm like, that's how I take care of.
Jax, can I give you some plants to baby for me, please?
Yeah, I love that you know that. I love that you talk about living soil.
Yes, I love it.
The switch that I want, and this is like my dream, because everybody also, I noticed on the traditional market, talk shit about legal weed. And it's not as good. It's not as good.
But too bad they're taking everything that's legal on to burn our distros and put it in the street.
Yeah. She said it. You heard it.
Hey, if you're truly in this space, you had a hustle on the drive. You know what's up. You know what's up.
Because I am like the compliance queen. Oh yeah. I do everything so by the book, and so it just, it's a whole other. Mindy stands on it. I don't know a lot of people that like stand on it.
But that's good.
Yeah, it is. But
you worked hard to get to where you're at. Exactly. You don't need something taken away over something ridiculous. Yeah. I fully agree with you. Full agree with you.
But it's not going to change unless we're all like doing the same thing. Everybody's doing all their different plans and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's just not stable.
Yeah, right. I agree.
But like with the things like that, where people have to take care, like when you're buying it off the street, like you're not getting that level of care.
Right.
And like, that's top shelf. Yeah, it costs more money. But, like if the dispensaries do have good weed is what I'm saying. And it's worth it for that money. And like my dream is to be like everybody, like have a delivery car. It's like the ice cream truck and like everybody's buying off of my delivery.
I love that. That model. We're getting there.
Have something out of sesh because,
we're getting there. It's getting there.
Really, it comes down to the consumer of this. Your dollar's a vote. So do you want to put your dollar towards the vote of continuing to see the industry grow, right? And get better? Or do you want to continue to support an industry that's never going to give back to you?
Right.
Our legal side of the thing, that's why I kind of got out of traditional, was that I saw the value in working in the world.
Right.
legal, regulated space because it had value to give back to me, right? It offers me jobs. It offers me friends and partnerships and places to grow and a ladder to climb up.
Correct.
The traditional market, it's a ceiling.
Yeah.
There's a ceiling there and you will never get past that. I know. You, when I used to be a grower back in the day and had all this cash, what are you going to do
with the cash? I know. I know. It's so hard. I know.
So what's the point of even wasting the time? Sure, use it to step up. I get it. Go have a bedroom grow because you need to get some money stacked up to go get a license. I don't.
Yeah, right.
That at all. But if you think on a longevity level that you are going to do something with your life, continuing to stay in the traditional space here.
I know. It's hard because it's quick, fast money. And then you might make 100, 200,000 one month.
It's the same thing for the consumer. It's like every time you go to that guy down the street, instead of going to the club, you're basically making it where that's going to dwindle less and less. And then eventually you won't even have that as an option. And all you're going to go back to is that guy on the street. And now he's got you here at the club. So we'll do whatever you want.
Right.
We don't just offer you what we got in our jars. We offer you whatever you want. You come into my club and you tell me I want this and I will come by. I had a guy just come in the other day. He's like, I can't find 100 milligram capsules and nobody has them. And I was like, well, how many you buy? And he's like, I'll buy six.
So now you're looking for them for him.
So I'm like, oh, well, I'll stock that for you, but no problem. He's like, great. Awesome. Now I have a place where I can get that. I have a lady, same thing. Her son's got autism.
Yeah.
Who won't stock the AVX gel capsule for whatever reason, right? That's what her son needs. I was like, I got you, girl. She comes to spend $700 a month.
Yeah, there you go. Customer service.
And that's so in a way, so I understand like you're saving a couple dollars by going to the streets, but in the end, you get so much more value by not saving that dollar and going to the stores, like there's so much more value to it.
It's like the transaction you want too, right?
Yeah.
It's
nicer. They're nicer to you.
I love that you bring that up because there is you would think that a dispensary is more expensive, but there's so many low cost options like 100 milligram RSO tablet for the drinks, 100 milligram drinks, $8.
Yeah,
it is very affordable.
I know.
So I feel like especially medical, you're not going to get. You might really pain interference or smoking or getting your stuff. But when you go in and you're getting products that really can help in different ways, and I think that is where, and that is what a lot of people don't understand, is that they can expand their knowledge and ability to heal themselves from going into a store and then really discovering that journey.
Right.
Getting your stuff just off the corner, that's not going to cut it for you.
Your body makes capsules, I promise you. He does not know the milligrams.
I know.
But also...
That's why you have the the loyal edible people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I where I live in the East Bay, tons of them, they are like, oh, you're the weed hustler we here in the neighborhood. Get me some edibles. But they give me their can, I don't want to go into the dispensary or that's far from me. They're older, so whatever, I'll get them. But they'll give me I want the same Camino can. It's got to be, can you make sure it's the same color? Because one time I took this one out of bowl that wasn't good. So just make sure it's the same. And if they don't have it, don't worry, honey. Just don't get it for me. Yeah. And I'll come back with something else. And they're like, no, I'm not going to take that. I'm like, well, just take it. It's almost the same brand. I know you're worried about the high. I understand why you're taking it. You're taking it to sleep all night. You want to wake up and peeing all night. I get it. I'm like, and my father was a great, guinea pig for this, right? Trying all the different edibles as a non-consumer. I'm a consumer. So to give it to someone who doesn't really want to consume, but just needs it to go to sleep all night because they're up all night being older. And he'll tell me, he'll be like, oh, that one's good. This one's bad. I like these ones. And then he'll say, these ones are very consistent. Like, what you're going to get from it. And that's when you go into the Kivas, I feel like, you know what I mean? Just a high on them.
And a consistent edible.
And they have the ratios.
Have been around since the
Yeah.
transition, that they've actually done a good job. I mean, that through, but I think you're right. I think it has to do with that more consistent customer.
Yeah.
Animal customer is very
Consistent.
But for this flower smoker, I pride myself on being the buyer and getting to cultivate a menu of flower.
Right.
I try to seek all of the genetics out there that people want. Okay. So when people come in, I get really excited when somebody comes in and is like, I've been looking for sour diesel. I'm like, oh, I've got it.
Yeah.
Or somebody comes in, I've been looking for GDP, or I've been looking for this.
The old schools, yeah.
Yeah, I love doing that for people.
Okay.
You can't do that anymore. You can't go to your guy and be like, hey, man, you got this. And he's going to be like, oh, bro, I have grown that. This is the new, we got to be growing.
LCG.
He's in his hype mode. Here, I don't have a hype about it.
Yeah.
I just want to sell it at 12. And when
I meet sales reps like you that have the menus that are available. That's exciting for me because like I'm always looking for stuff. So I'm always like digging through all the things.
Yeah.
To find that
I love hearing that.
or that one thing. Like it's exciting for me. Like I think it's a lot funner working with reps that have multiple things. And I can also call you and be like, hey, I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
You know, I've got so many contacts, Jeff.
Yeah. And you know, I love that you hit on that because that's what I tell a lot of my clients. I say, hey, listen, if there's something on my menu I don't have, but you're going to buy 1,000 of them, or you need $1 pre-roll, or you need something, tell me, because I work with so many people, I can source it. It's just maybe I don't have it because, you know, the production for it was not really, the scalability wasn't there. They didn't have the clientele. So I love being able to do that. I really do. And I think that starting with that smaller company I did about 10 years ago, and I did all the sales for, and kind of going into meetings and really hanging tight and being exclusive with them, not selling other stuff when people were trying to have me sell it in the beginning. And buyers would be like, you need indoor, Gina, you got to get indoor. You need indoor flower. You got all this sun grown. This is nice, but you need indoor. And then finally stepping out, because I'm very loyal as a person in how I move and just who I am. And if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I do it. And so when I told them, when they're like, oh, you're exclusive, you can't sell their brands, I was like, okay, no problem. But then
we were exclusive.
Like they had exclusive rights to me. So I was only allowed to sell their portfolio 10 years ago. That's how it was. And I'll talk about this in a second because this is very innovating within the industry and the space that we're currently in today. And so I was like, okay, yeah, because I'm a loyal person and I feel like I gave you my word and I don't ever want to upset someone because I lied. Like to me, that's like horrible to lie to someone, right? I just don't, that's just not how I move. So I didn't have indoor, and all my buyers were like, gee, you know, you got outdoor, you got some good stuff, but you really need some indoor flower or some edibles. And I'm like, no. You know, I'm exclusive at this company. And they're just like, all right, well, if you want someone, I got a contact of this guy's name, you know, you could call him and get his flower. Yeah. So after a while, I realized I wasn't hurting myself. I was hurting my clients by not being able to provide a service for them.
You are connecting to their,
And they were asking me.
Yeah. And there were dispensaries that literally were not selling any sunburn flower.
Yep.
All of this indoor
It
flower.
was.
That was wild.
It was, yeah. And so I dabbled in and I got some indoor and I was able to really differentiate some stuff and I got some bigger sales. And then, you know, buyers would be like, hey, this brand's looking for a sales rep. Why don't you do this? And then I started to really move around and pick up all smaller little brands, but really gave a lot of attention to my main jive and hustle of the brand, right? And I started to realize at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, without my clients, which is you guys, the retailers, I don't have Gina. I don't have anything to sell. Yes, I can have you manufacture it and produce it all day long, but if you don't have a source of an outlet for it and good clientele, where are you placing it? Where is it going?
Always in the bottleneck too.
Yeah.
Because of the restrictions on dispensaries and where they can go and how many people can have them.
Right. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start to sell their products. So I did. And I was with Procurement Center up in Ukiah for many years. And this is a long time in this space. I was with them for, I think, almost 4 years. I worked for them and I was a founder of their sales. I helped produce some of their packaged goods because they were doing a lot of wholesale in procurement. And, you know, I was loyal to them for a really long time, but they didn't have some of the stuff I need. So I had to go out and outsource other things. And doing that, it was so brutal. I'd go to Hall Flowers and they'd be over there and I'd be over here. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get pumped. This guy's paying me a salary. This guy's paying me a salary. What am I going to do? I remember when COVID first hit, I was like, I think I'm just going to not go to Hall Flowers and tell people I have COVID. And they're like, well, they might want a doctor's letter. I'm like, I don't know. Like, could they do that? You know, it was so stressful. And living in the Bay, and people can take this how they want or not. I don't just have a life, I have a lifestyle, and I'm blessed and honored to be able to have created that, right? And so to maintain it, to create it's one thing, but to maintain it is a whole nother fucking level. And so to live in California and to live in the Bay and to really do what I need to do, it costs a lot of money. And so I'm not someone who's going to be held back or deprive my family because I can't provide that. And I don't think, you know, how I grew up, I didn't, you know, I had to go hustle. I don't even remember candy for my cheerleading shoes and stuff, you know? So I was like, you know what? That's their problem. You're not getting me the full arsenal I need. I need indoor, I need drinks, I need edibles, I need a bunch of different flower. And if you can't provide me that, why should I be losing out when my clients are asking me for things? Hey, do you got this? You got $2 pre-roll, you got, $15 top shelf. Yeah. So I went out and I did it. And now it's gotten to the capacity where I have been a front runner and a stage, I would say, platform for it, where a lot of companies are like, hey, we don't care. We're going to pay you a salary. We know you got all that. But are you selling another thing that kind of competes with this, just so we know? And I'm like, no. And if you're going to pay me XYZ with commission, I'm going to put my love into you. I have, now I've remodeled my whole platform, but if you're paying me a hefty dollar amount, you're getting my full attention. Not that everyone doesn't, but you're a main pusher. So a lot of companies have now opened that up. And I think that that's great. And I tell all my sales reps, people, they're like, Gina, we honor you. I can't believe what you do and how you do this and how you move. And I'm like, you know what? It takes us as sales reps to do this and to open that gateway up. Because if you don't, it's fine. Like when I got the approach from Stizzy a few years ago to take up the NorCal position, and I was doing the numbers and I know what they sell and stuff, but I'm like, man, I do more on my own and I get to move at my pace. Yeah. I'm not tied to you. Like I can move how I need to move. And that's what's important to me, is freedom of movement and choice.
Really love how you broke it down too, as in the reason why you curated menu, because you get more clients.
Right.
And that's going to be more beneficial.
Right.
To the brand, because you're now in contact with more retailers. And so that is kind of, obviously it is a bottleneck. And that's very much needed. And so it's cool that you made a company out of it, because the distros, right? Like some distros, like they have sales teams, but it's not advantageous, right, distro operationally to be running the sales team. Right. You can't expand your distro. You don't want to be limited to a certain number, because that's how you make your money.
Right.
Expand. So I think sales companies are essentially needed in this industry.
Yeah.
Because you have to build your brand and you have to get in, but it also doesn't stop at just dropping the product off.
Exactly.
Making a sale. How do you retain your clients? Like, what are some?
So I love talking about this customer retention. I always tell my brands I could do the first sale, the second sale, the third sale, but after that fourth, fifth, sixth, the brand's got to show up. And when I say the brand's got to show up, no, I'm checking in with the stores and managers. I'm making sure everything's okay, but the brand has to show up on marketing. They have to do what they have to do to be a brand. If you want me to hit $225,000, $300,000 a month in sales with you, you got to go in there and be a brand. Pepsi Cola is still out there. Coca-Cola, they're still wrapping vending machines. They're still doing ads. They're still, and so our space has now come to that. And that's why I say I can't take every brand on now, because they can't be of service to my clients, to what the clients need. And I'm a disservice to you if I'm not giving you your needs. And one thing about being a very good sales rep is understanding the needs and the wants of the person you're selling to. It's not what I want to sell you because I'm going to make 10% commission off it. It's what you need and what you want. And that's different from everyone, because there's NorCal, there's SoCal, there's Central Valley, there's,
of every buyer, every store. I'm like super curious.
I know. So I on a daily basis, I do about 100 retailers, but my client book is about getting up to almost 400 clients that I service. So I go, I'm statewide reach, but I'm NorCal service, but I do have people in the needles. I do have, all over SoCal, some key accounts, but how I keep them is really just cultivating that personal touch with these people. And I was telling someone at Hall Flowers, I am so over drinking and eating and smoking right now, because I've been entertaining so much these past few months, because sales have been so hard and the economy's really hurting right now. So I've been entertaining a lot more than I typically do, just to show my appreciation to you guys, not to try to upsell, not to make you feel like, oh, Gina just took me to a, $400 dinner. Now I got to spend. No, it's just to say, hey, listen, I have all the things that I have because of you guys, because of you. Without you, I can't pay my mortgage, or I can't do this. You know what I mean? So I am very blessed and honored and thankful for my clients.
And like, I'm here. I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not gonna leave you high and dry.
Right.
I will be here through thick and thin.
Right. Male or female. I have like a lot of great female clients I love and call my little babies. And I got great male clients too, and it is a male dominant industry, but I am seeing a lot more women and more on like operational ends, because I feel like us as women, we just get it done. And we were just like, nope,
Our minds
do it today,
a different way than men work when it comes to the operational side.
Right.
It's really kind of interesting. It's something, since we started this podcast, Minnie and I have come to recognize, is that almost 90% of what you see going on in the industry is all maintained and operated by women.
Yeah. And the back ends.
In front.
Yeah.
There is several women behind it.
Right.
And so we really are kind of taking over the industry as far as the operational side of things. There was something you said, about the going out to lunch. So, when sales reps like, because I'm a buyer, when they take me out to lunch, I don't think that they're doing it to try to upsell me, because it's figure if a sales rep is taking time out of their day to go have lunch with me.
Yeah.
I do lunch, right? Because that's what they're going to do. They're
Yeah.
gonna do lunch. They're not
Oh,
doing
no, I
it.
thought you were buying.
No.
I'm kidding.
But I thought, I used to think, this is like a thing, and it's not a
No.
thing. It's not a manipulative thing. It's actually like an appreciation.
Yes.
Why would they take time out of their day?
Yeah.
Stop making money, which is their whole thing to be a salesperson, right?
Yep.
Drive.
Drive.
To go have lunch with you.
Yeah.
They must like you. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with this upsell. So buyers out there, if they offer to take you guys out to lunch, it's because they like you. Go to lunch. Okay.
Go to lunch.
I know there's just a thing, there's such thing as a free lunch, but at the end of the day, like,
Yeah.
you guys, when you do that, I do think it's out of a sense of appreciation, and I appreciate it, So,
That's good to hear. Yeah. I love doing that. And like I said, that is really, why I love what I do. And I don't feel like I work a day in my life. And, I love that I've created what I've created in this platform that I'm launching, Beyond the Sale, which
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
yeah. So Beyond the Sale essentially is something that I've seen a tremendous gap within our market. And so when you look at other entities, when you look at real estate, when you look at fitness, when you look at, staging decor, fashion, they all have different platforms where you can grow and learn on. And I feel like in cannabis, there really truly isn't one. And I think to be successful at this role in sales, and you're opening up other states, MSOs, so you got your GTIs, you got your Curaleaf, you got all these massive companies, right, that are going into Chicago, Illinois, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arizona, Nevada. You're not getting the Cali people who moved packs or know a little bit about a weed. You're getting people who were true salespeople. They came from the beauty world. They came from the tech. They came from beverage, spirits. Yeah. And so to sell this entity, I tell everyone, my first year in selling this, and I'm a chameleon. So I adapt and I learn, and I call this the $1 million mouthpiece. Like, this is how I made money. The modeling, walking, working, that's just who I am as a person. So it's in me, it's in my blood. And so I pivoted really well with this, really well, and learned how to sell it, and I use it. But there's going to be people out there that they don't use it, and they're in a different state, and they don't even really understand how to sell it. So I felt, wow, wouldn't it be really cool if I created a platform to launch that it helped individuals, sales teams for these MSOs, where I can go out and I can bring a motivational speaker. I can get these people in a room, really armor them up, build them up with confidence, and then just teach them on upsell, cross-sell, how to keep AOVs high, what's your loss leader, new customer funnels, just teaching truly how retail works. And so I used to own retail, so I understand a lot about retail, and I think that that's a strength and why I'm winning within this space, is because I've actually owned a retail store. I've actually had to operate it. I've had to put up my own money. I've had deficits. I've had losses. And with cannabis, I've put a couple 100 pounds in my car and prayed to God that I was going to make it, So like, when you've actually made moves and done things, you look at these brands and you look at these people and you look at these retail owners and you commend them and you understand where they're coming from because you've had to do that before. If you've never done that, you don't know.
No understand.
You do not understand the risk.
We'll never, like, you know, you can kind of explain it, but there's just a level where, like, until you're in it every day, you don't understand what goes through that mind.
I know. So when I go into these stores and I'm talking with the owners, you know, maybe it would be you, Mindy, if I came in and I was like, hey, your rent's X amount, your health insurance is this, minimum wage is going up, but all the weeds coming down, like, let's strategize together. How can I help you? What do you need from me? Let's create some cool opportunities for these consumers so that they can spend more. So you're not stuck at a $40 ticket size. If you get them up to like 70, 68, 70, 75, even sometimes 100, if we create cool basket giveaways and things. So I've created that. It's something I'm implementing. I'm doing it on retail for the bud tenders too, to also teach them, because at the end of the day, the bud tender truly controls the revenue that's going to be brought back into that store. And some of these bud tenders, they take the job, they like weed, they're cool, but they've never been given the skills or the communication on how to sell and upsell. And so if you don't ever really have that, you don't know the person that's in front of you.
No, it's true on a business stance, because I like to educate. And education is one part of it that will produce more and higher sales, because you're able to be
right
about the products, but selling to somebody, and not only that, but having it be very organic.
Right.
Because I cringe, like, whenever I go to different places and they're like asking me the same question, like, would you like to add like a specific item? I'm like, no. Or else I told them. I literally would have told you that I wanted this thing and I don't want this thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't create that emotional connection with your electric. There is a yes.
She's got, and you know, you know what's really cool about Jax, and I love it, and we hit it off really well. She used to do door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
And so when her and I were talking, and I did ask her, I told her kind of what I was going to do. She said, I think that's awesome. I used to do door-to-door sales, and it's really nice when you can talk with buyers and they've actually sold something, because it takes a lot of tenacity out of us to just ask. You don't, I know everyone says you don't know until you ask, just ask. But sometimes for us to just ask, we're like, oh gosh, I don't even want to ask, because I know they might not really like it. I mean, I got one brand, and I'm not going to say any names, but I got one brand, and there's a lot of people just don't like this brand for some reason. And
this brand I don't like.
We're not talking about that. But I will say one thing about this brand. I love this brand because I can no longer support smaller farmers. I just can't. They don't have the marketing. They don't have the crap to do it. I would love to. That's all that I hustled in the beginning. But it's just a disservice to me, because they can't get my retailers what I want. And then I got to go out of my pocket, which is fine sometimes, but it starts to get costly out of my business expense to buy your food truck or to credit back or to go in there and be like, hey, you know what, let me just fucking buy the last 30 units and I'll just pull out my debit card and pay. Because I respect you and I need you. And without you, I don't flourish. So I understand that. A lot of reps don't understand that. I take my job very seriously. I pay for marketing monthly. I do a little swag things. I'm always, always, always appreciative to you guys to operate my business, and understand without you guys, there's no business. So going back to that, I love this brand because we work with a lot of farmers and we buy a lot of bulk from them. And I'm still able to support those guys and put money back into their pocket because we cash them out. And so
that is really,
it is. It all starts with the farmer. If there's no farmer, there's no weed, you know? So it's crazy how people have forgot that. No farmer, no weed. No retail, no sale, you know? So I think we all need to get back to we're a team, where it started and how it was founded, and the risks and the libations that we had to take to get to where we are current day. And we are the trendsetters for this, you know what I mean? And it's a movement. And I am so blessed and honored to be able to be in this movement and be with women like you guys who see it, recognize it, and just eat and breathe it.
I think a lot of us, also, I think it really goes back to the green rush, right? And it brought in a lot of outsiders
right.
That don't have our experiences. And I see a lot of them fading away. I mean, I see people that were like key counter mountain rangers for raw gardens.
Right.
That came from other things. And they've gone back to those.
Yeah.
Because there's no real money the way they're used to in their
right.
industries. And they're all kind of going away. Not that sounds mean, but I'm happy to see that because we're going to go back to what it should have been in the first place, which it should never have been marketed as a green rush and invited all these outsiders in, because this industry is not there yet. We are still in California only. We are only here, and to have million square foot farms and million square foot grows and all these huge districts and all this money flowing around was just really a huge waste. It was just not really needed or wanted. Nobody needed it. Nobody wanted it. And now we're getting back down to the nitty gritty of it all.
Right.
And you're starting to see like weeds actually improving. Pre-rolls are improving.
Right.
Everything's getting better because it's back to the people that actually want to be doing it.
Right.
Not just here to try to capitalize on some quick gold rush.
Right.
So, the capitalization, and people were preparing for out of state sales and
With
California the federal
open up and
state lines.
the thing that the commercialism was that these small people then had to do everything like it was a big scale, although it wasn't set up for that.
Right.
So you cannot, that's why we have to work together, because you cannot, as a farmer, it's very hard to have a brand. Like bulk sales, make sure you're making your money, and then you can let your stuff out there kind of after that, but just needing to survive and then making your brand and surviving. That means that operationally you're having to run a brand, which is completely different than operationally having to run a farm. It's like you're running two businesses at once. And
very different businesses.
Yeah.
So hard to do. And so, like those small farms, and I commend you because you use that from the beginning. Like I was hustling sun-grown because that is the best weed.
It is. It is. I used to roll a joint and they wouldn't even know. I'd be like, smoke this indoor to some of those. Man, that shit hit. It was living soil, sun grown. And I'm like, this is fucking outdoor, living soil, full sun. They're like, what?
Old time, like weed smokes better than anybody else's.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me because, when you go talk to people, they was talking about indoor this, indoor that, and indoor is the only thing you should be smoking. And it's like, I think that unfortunately, because of that mentality of you could put it in the ground and put water on it, there's always going to be an oversaturation of that.
Yeah.
If you can really find some of these farmers that are doing a killer job, you will have the best smoke.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
and I mean, there's all different grades of it, There is trash. There is trash.
I want to see grading better for cannabis.
Yeah.
Based off of percentage.
I know. There is trash outdoor, but then there's really good. Yeah. So.
What I like to see is the sun-grown flower bulk going into dispensary brands. Because then you have,
The control of it.
The control of it. You're picking what you want. You can see how good it is. But then that sun-grown can get rid of bulk. And and instead of buying, a quarter pound, you're buying like a pound, 2 pounds strain. So it gives that grower more funds to be able to continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because we've seen so many small farms literally go away.
I know.
And so
I know.
and it's hard to compete in this market where the saturation is what it is.
Yeah.
Prices have gone down. So if you're small, it's just the regulations don't cater to a small business. It caters to a large business.
Yeah.
Because the commercialization, but even larger businesses, aren't doing it right because they don't have the platform to do what they've spent money, and they're set up to be able to do.
Well, we've talked about some of these larger places that, they're not moving through all that. There's no way you could moving through all that. I know how much we're selling per year. The DCC keeps records of it, and I know how much you're producing per square foot. The math ain't math in here, folks. So it's really not worth it.
Don't let Mindy hear this. Regulation girl, here we go.
Seriously,
They're tainted that burner distro.
No, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
I hate it because it's just small. Make your growth small.
Yeah.
Why are you ruining the industry? For me, it's an oxymoron. How stupid you have to be to have a legal brand while you're selling on the other side of the coin. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Just make your brand smaller. Get a smaller growing facility. We don't need to be blowing it out to be this huge grow. You don't even have to sell through for.
Yeah.
Because the way all of us got big as farmers back in the day was because people wanted market stuff.
Right.
And you're like, fuck this year, I got thrown.
Yeah.
Last year, 50 pounds and cut it. People were mad at me.
Yeah.
That's how we got bigger. We didn't just get bigger because one day we had enough money to go put it on there. And I knew
lots of weed growers that had lots and lots of money. And they just were like, nope, this is what I sell. I make good money doing it. That's where we're going to stay. And more growers need to get back to that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be scaling real about it. Yeah. So like the things that, the reasons why you have to value and you have to do your brand as big as you have to is because the amount that goes into compliance.
So true, you're right.
Your expenses and
For the COAs
is going to be what it is, regardless of if you have a small grow or if you have a large grow. So the reason why you have to have a larger grow is you have to make enough money in order to cover all of the security, all of the alarms, all of the compliance. Like you literally have to have a full-time compliance person doing metric and making sure everything is set and managed. So that person doesn't change. It doesn't change times. No, it's because expenses are so high. Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just, you're right. It's designed not to be capable of being small. You're right to be, because if you're a small person, you're trying to be the compliance and you're trying to be sales and you're trying to be the brand and you're trying to be the marketing. You're just going to spin.
I will say one thing. I sell, and I don't want to put out any names, but I sell one brand and they were big street movers and they made it global. And I love selling this brand because I love the movement and the risks that the person took to get it to where it's at currently, and that they put a global movement into the UK and they are just all over. And their merch is really good. They made it a lifestyle, right? And I like to see the story of the growth of the person behind it. A troubled kid, moving weed, getting into bad stuff, and from the Bay Area, and then growing into this awesome grown man who is successful, has now learned how to hustle on the street, but also run like a good business. Yeah, multiple retails, just merch that people sells out in 5 seconds, and just to be behind that and support someone like that, it's just innovating and so humbling and such a good role model for some of these people who are a little lost, that are younger, or they see this movement and things like that. So they do heavy in both markets, but I do know that that's kind of where all this started. So I love that. And I like supporting the growth, seeing where you started. Like she was saying, you can make all this cash, you do all this, what are you going to do with it? But putting it back into getting retails, putting into merch, buying real estate, doing different investments. And to me, that just shows people that there's growth and you can change,
Going worldwide is like the ultimate dream.
Yeah.
For any cannabis brand owners, like the Delulu, like you like
yeah. Or you get or like these poor guys are getting
all of the time. But to see that somebody actually did that, like that's just, I don't know.
Props, right?
I know. It's so inspiring.
Really,
and when I talk to him and I ask him about his life and just like how it is, I would look at him and I wouldn't even think the way he spoke and who he is who he is. And I'm just like, wow, who are you? It's like he's like got like the superhero cape on, and then he takes his Batman off and all that. And it's just so inspiring. And I love that they're in this space doing that, because those are what we need, people like that. And to say, hey, I made a lot of bad mistakes. I did this, I did X, Y, Z, but growth, this, that, discipline, having to run this business and really doing my dream. Like, how many people's dreams really come true, or they really get to live through it and do it. It's just so inspiring. And I love seeing that within our space. And there's a couple brands that have done it, that are
love or hate them, like they've done it.
I mean, like I give credit to Slizzy to do what they did. I give credit to somebody like
I know people have their opinions about it, but let's be real about cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies did something that is a very organic story.
Yes.
About how he became a part of the culture, saw that he wanted to be a part of it, created a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Put everything into it. Those stories are finally coming out about him talking about those first t-shirts he ever printed.
Yeah. I love that.
Literally
was gone in like seconds.
And he was just mind boggled.
Yeah.
Let's be real. You put cookies on the menu, people buy it. I got clones recently, had Girl Scout cookies, the original form cut.
I love it.
I sold out in 2 days. I saw it. The
Mark.
They were, it was killer. The number taught us something, which was that you had a good product.
Right.
You had a attention seeker.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then you had something that people could like bond over.
Exactly.
Right? Which was these t-shirts.
Yep.
We all knew that if you saw somebody wearing a cookies t-shirt,
Yep.
we're all part of the same community,
Yep.
right? So it really taught me something about branding and marketing and sales. And it's something like with this that we're wanting to do, like we were talking about, like I really dream up the day that we can sell t-shirts to skate shops or to retailers like Zoomies or something and be like Alien Labs and some of these other brands that have kind of crossed over into like the normal world of sales. It's really exciting and inspiring to see. And like I said, love them or hate them, because I know everybody has their opinions about everybody. You can respect it.
I respect it so much. I respect it so much. So much.
A lot, right? And like we are kind of on the pathway because he did. So there was all of those things like he did, like being a musical artist and, you know, repping cannabis so hard, but he would document what he was doing. And then that in turn, that documentation let people connect with him in a way that they're understanding who he is. And that's how he got so famous. People loved his personality. And it was more, right? He's like documenting being a successful rap artist and different things like that. And like everybody did that. Like he let himself, you know, go to that mile where it's like, hey, I'm just going to open myself up. Yeah. And if people like me, and then they ended up something. Sometimes you go out there. We all know about that every now and then, right? The majority of his wealth doesn't even come from the weed. The weed only makes him like so much money. He says he barely makes money off of it.
Yeah.
It's all the other things.
Oh, yeah. The lifestyle.
Yeah.
The merch, the music. Yeah.
So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like,
the appearances.
I think that to be successful in this industry, you kind of have to have
diversity.
Something that is going to be your 9 to 5, if you will. Like it's your base pay, right? Like you have this thing that's coming in that then you can take and put it into the thing that you want, your passion, but you have to recognize that that passion's not going to do that for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a really good lesson to learn. And I know, you know, we mostly feature a lot of women on here, but there are some men out there that have done some incredible things that a lot of women can learn
yes
and take and do a similar pathway. You know what I mean? So and I know, you know, and we've touched on it a couple different times, like how people gotten, you know, like to where they've gotten, and I understand how hard it is. And so like, I can't fucking hate on it. I can't, you gotta do, to survive. And I just know that me as a person, you know, like I'd had to train myself on how to handle high levels of stress. Yeah. That's not, everybody can do that. And so like, I get it. Like, you know, I've had days where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then I've had days where I'm like, hell yeah, like this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm living this best life.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you have to survive or else you're, you know, mentally it's not going to do well for you. And, you know, I commend people for trying, but, you know, I wouldn't do it personally just because like I really care, you know, like about justice and what I stand on, but not everybody's like that either. You know, like I can't hate on people for it. And I just, you know, wish everybody the best, but hopefully people do it with the right thing in mind, because we do, you know, I'm about fairness, right? And justice in all levels. And so I love to see, you know, men controlling different industries and doing what they're doing in a certain level. But I do think that weed is geared more towards the feminine kind of, because it's a female plant. And so we just bring something to the table. Now it's just different because we operate different.
Right.
So nobody's really I mean, like you said, we had a couple people that we can all look to say like, okay, they made it, right? But the reality is that nobody's really made it yet. So it's a brand new thing. So these women that are growing up today with these ideas that they really never had before. I mean, 50 years ago, women really weren't in the place that they are right now, like at our age, right? Like they were thinking about way different things that the women are or young ladies are. And so it's like, it is important for everybody to see these like pathways to get somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a minute.
Yeah. I want to go back to the stress thing. I love that you said that, Mindy. The stress, I think, of this industry is wild. It is, and I think for my position and what I do, it's funny because like some of my colleagues are like, Gina, you operate better under stress. I'm like, is that a trauma or is that a stress? Yeah. Because I like, and no one take offense to when I say this, but salespeople are not normal. We're not right in the head. Meaning the tenacity and the nose and the get back up and the resilient. And that's why not everyone can do this position. There's a million salespeople out there, but how many are truly successful? And how many of those people are actually truly selling?
Good salesperson I know is slightly girl.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit.
And when I say like,
good at the job.
Yeah, like the good ones, the ones that are really, they're good at what they do. We have like a trauma or we have a stress. I don't really know what it is. And we just thrive off that. And we take our satisfaction and our thriving through our work and our earning, because we only earn what we produce. So it's not like I sit here and I know, okay, today I'm going to be, I signed my contract. I'm getting $150,000 and that's it. And I'm just going to run all around. No, it's not like that. A number is a number, and that's going to dictate where you end in life. And I tell everyone in life, everything's a number. Everything's a number. You have an age, you have time. I mean, time is your biggest, we're racing against the clock all day. Like you stated earlier, you're like, how many hours are you actually up and functioning? Like where there's 24 hours in a day, but you sleep for 7, 8, you take a shower, you get ready, you might go to the gym. So now you're down to actually really only 6, 7 working hours, truly, because you get in the car and you got to drive to it. So the being time efficient, understanding how important your time is and valuing your time and putting your time into things that invest back into yourself as well. And just understanding that, I think that salespeople, we're not, we are very neurotic. And it is a stress drive. It is a stress drive, and I tell people all the time, my son, I have a 12-year-old, and he's like, hey, Mom, you're always on your phone all day long, that thing. Wait. And it's like, I'm now addicted to it. Like if I didn't work, if I didn't have the job that I have, I probably wouldn't be on the phone. Right. But it's all money based off the phone. And what I love about it too, is I can dip off and go somewhere and I'm still kicking my feet up, making money. Yes, it's a drive. I'm not saying every day is like that. That's not the truth. Because you do got to get out and you got to make your stops and do what you do. But I mean, it is now finally at this year 10, I have it on lock where things are now just starting to roll. And I finally get to that freedom of movement and dictate where I'm going to go today, how it's going to happen, and what it's going to be, right?
Well, you started as entrepreneur. So you have the entrepreneur mindset, which I think you absolutely have to have. Like there's that other piece of the pie that you absolutely have to be able to be your own boss.
Right. Yes.
And back to what she said, how do you keep your organized? What are some tips you can give people?
So I do have like a planner on my phone, my calendar. I set it up all with meetings. We do have a light CRM system. I'm not a big CRMer. I'm just, it's like a tracking. So you could put all of your information into it. It can email people. There's some of them have AIs installed in them. So you can write like weekly menus and schedule it to hit every Monday at 5 a.m., things like that. And it tracks all your stores and your growth and your potential. I love CRMs in a sense, but I feel as a skilled salesperson, I've sold a lot of different entities, that if you rely on a CRM and you rely on something to kind of dictate how it's going to be, you're already not successful at your job. Because I'm successful at my job because I can look at something and I understand where it's at, what I'm doing, what time it's happening, and that's just in me. And I think that dictates the livelihood of different sales reps, because that's stuff when someone asks you, you should just be able to spit it out. That's my job. Yeah. And I feel if you have to be like, hold on 1 second, let me open up my computer system, and a lot of people are like that, but I that's not how I operate. I know. Someone asked me, hey, what did they order? When was the last time? I'm like, it was about 3 weeks ago. I may not have the date, but then I can pull it up. But if you don't know that stuff, how are you going to excel at your job?
Yeah, don't rely too much on technology.
Yeah. I mean, I do use my calendar and things like that. But I mean, off the top of my head, it's there. That's my job. That's what I need to know. Like if you're in finance, you know when the market's up, you know when it's down, you know when to hit, you know when to pull. That guy just gave me $6 million and I call him for this investment. You just know that's your job. Yeah. When you own retail, you know, I got to be there by this time, and this has got to go. If that bill's not up on the wall, if I don't put this license, if, you know, the tax bills due this day, like that's your job. And if you don't know what you're doing, you got to steer a different ship.
Yeah.
So that's how I stay organized. I do use my calendar.
That though, because like my inventory at the store, I have it memorized. Like, I know when things came in and when things didn't, and what we generally have on every day. Like,
And obviously you need a tracker for that because you need to know unit amounts so you're not over ordering and stuff,
But yeah,
you know. But you lay heavy on your head.
When was the last time I ordered cat? I'd be like, probably about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know.
Exactly. So same thing. Yeah.
I think that goes from, you know, the experience. Like, we've all had many years doing different things, but it comes down to knowing yourself. And once you know yourself, then you're going to be able to kind of figure out, this is where my brain goes and this is where my brain thrives. Yeah, it's the position for me. And sometimes that does take different reiterations of you trying different things. Like, I'm going to try and have a brand. You're like, brand ownership is not for me.
Yeah.
Like, my mind is more suited towards this type of thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just, if I ever produce weed ever again, it would be because I want to produce the best weed for all these people that have brands that want a white label and they want to have a good source. That's how I know in this day and age. And I would have known that years ago, back when it all became legal. You know, I was like, in my mind, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Things change for me. But nowadays, now that I've sat on this other side, if anybody ever comes to me for growing nowadays, and they're like, start a brand, I'm like, you know, you might want to just find some people that are looking for some good weed that are going to buy it from you.
Right.
And maybe work on the brand, find a store or two that might pick it up, you're friends with, just to test it in the market. But honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it. I find other people to worry about that.
Yeah.
There's just now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It comes from all the experience that we've all had. So, and that's why we want to share it all with everybody, you know, because there's no training for this. Like, this is all new for everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's why what really inspired me to launch Beyond the Sale. So it's giving back knowledge and data, different things that are useful.
You said you started an app for it?
No, it's a platform.
Oh, okay.
So you could go on my suite at GinaAlvarez.co. And I have different offerings for different people because in the sales world, it's not all one system type. There's different protocols. So I have one-on-ones, I have remotes that you can download. And then I'm also doing master classes. So that's when it's probably, you know, I would say, depending on your retail size, or if it's for like a larger scale company where I'm going to be training budtenders and different things like that. It would probably be like 50, 60 people. All right, I bring a motivational speaker in, we cater food. If your headquarters is big enough for a lot of people. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Fun. Is it recording when there's a red light on? Yes, I've been like kind of looking. Like, where did Josh years?
Oh, he's helping you off. That's good.
I said, just give me a little look when that's already locked in. So this is what I'm here. Like inside. Sort it cued back into yeah. Okay. So you're saying you got different ways for one-on-ones with people and
yeah.
Locked in for the
Right. Yeah. So I have seminars that I'm doing where we're going to, I'll bring in a motivational speaker. I'll cater food. Depends if I'm getting, you know, up and we're going to do a convention.
like a class of like the budtenders, basically.
So it can be either or. It could be sales reps, independent sales reps. And I'm not only honing in on cannabis. Cannabis is where I'm driving it to, right? Because this is currently what I'm selling, and I see that there's a lack within our industry for this. But I mean, I've sold a lot of different things. So I think that if I was going to go get training from someone, I would want to be trained by someone who's sold a lot of different entities. And for that purpose, because you've solved a lot of different types of problems, it's not just one in a specific area. So it could be, you know, when I was doing processing for merchant services for credit cards, that was completely different. There was a lot of laws, there was a lot of stipulations, there was a lot of different things that you had to know to solve a problem. As coming to cannabis, okay, is it not selling through? Is the product not fresh anymore? Is this just something that people aren't liking? Is that price point? What kind of promotions do we do? Where are we at on the shelf? So I think that kind of understanding that you are very diverse is great, because when you have that, you have a lot of knowledge and experience. And so it's for budtenders. I could do it for stores. I am training one larger store up in the North Bay, so that will be exciting. They're a powerhouse up there. They have about 200 employees, so that'll be good. I am huge. Yeah, so it'll be a big group. I'm really trying to get into the MSO world, the multi-state operators. So get into Chicago, Arizona, Nevada, and only because they're going to put a lot of sales reps out on the floor. I would say wholesaling of brands, and they're in those different states, a couple companies run the whole state. So it's different. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not here
to meet. Like, say if you go to another state, like how do you connect or get together?
So there's a lot of different ways. It's really cool because a lot of people from 10 years ago, they started and they went off into different states. I got one guy that ran Harborside. He's now in Vegas, and he's got a 5-shop chain that I'm working on to train him and do that. So I feel like a lot of people kind of came in California and they went back out, and then being from Illinois, I do have a lot of connections, just kind of being out there and being an old business owner. And that's like my blood, so this person knows this person, and hey, Gina, they work at, Curaleaf or GTI. Can you go over here? So that's been really good. Networking is priceless. Networking is that's what I shine at. So I just put myself out there and I talk to everyone, and if I need to get something, then I'll figure it out. Or if I have to, I know someone that's got some connections, I'll be like, hey, how can we help each other? Yeah. What can we do? You know what I mean? Do I need to cut you in on this sale or something and give you a percent, or, so just a lot of different ways. LinkedIn is one too. A lot of people now, I feel like, are putting their cannabis jobs on LinkedIn, which is pretty cool.
Really big cannabis community.
I know.
They don't seem to censor it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's been great. Yeah.
They don't censor the X. I've never been on X. Yeah.
I'm not on X either. But Instagram's really well too. So I will say, even with myself and hiring my marketing team and really leaning heavy into them, because honestly, just so you guys all know, I love being on the camera and I like this, but it's really not who I am. It's not. They make me take risks. It's a guy and a girl, and they do a really great job, and I love being around them too, because they're humble, they're good people, and they know who I am, and we've created this rapport, so they won't put something out there that's not really me. Yeah. But they did open up my mind, because they're like, hey, we need to come into your house, we need to film your house, we need to film your car, blah blah. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? My son's like, Mom, why are you trying to flex? And I'm like, but it was funny though, because her name is Elise, and she's like, Gina, that's who you are. Be who you are. What, you're gonna get on the camera and be like, I sell weed, sorry, She's like, you have all this stuff because you've sold so much weed and you're doing well and you're successful. Who fucking cares? Do what you want to do. And so I was like, because I'm not someone like that. I have nice things and stuff, but I'm not like, I got this and put it in people's face. You know what I mean?
Was it when you launched and launched kind of that platform, is when you made the decision, like, hey, I have to put myself out there?
Well,
what made you make the decision to go that route? Because you have to spend money on that.
Yes, a lot of money. Yeah.
Into your career, your business, and,
so different. Yeah, very transparently. So I teeter a little bit in the real estate industry as well, right? I'm not fully going to go into it, but it's a market that I love. I love houses. I love interior design. A lot of my boss girls are top producers, and they're making millions of dollars, and they're successful. And these are great people that I inspire to be, but I love weed and I love what I'm doing here. So I don't really I don't do this for $1. $1 comes to me because of the way I move it.
Most people in this industry, if you think that we're doing this for money, you are very wrong.
And you know what? I've kind of implemented systems and seen weaknesses. And so when I realized where this market was, I was like, man, no sales reps out here are really branding themselves or really putting anything into themselves. And at the end of the day, I lose a brand, I don't lose you.
No.
I just lost that brand sale. I'll go find something else. So who are you really buying? You're buying from people. You're buying from me. So I said, you know what? I need to take, not that I didn't take it serious, but I need to really be the front runner in this space and go out and brand myself, spend money, level up, and dictate where it's going to go. And so I love it now because it's really inspiring. I see some sales reps now, they're doing more reels and I see them getting, into it and things. And I don't want to say that's because of me, but I do see that there is a little bit of an inspiration there. And the pushback that we get and the DMs and stuff, it's so inspiring. People and I love that there's not that much hate. There's hate, there is hate, but just people saying, hey, Gina, I love what you're doing. When they see me out at Hall Flowers last week, Gina, your media, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. And I like hearing that because I'm doing this to show people how to level up, how to be successful in the time when it's hard. To not try to let brands tell you, hey, you're only going to make $100,000 with me. Not only that's a large amount of money, but not if you have a child, not if you're a single mom, not if you're, it's a lot, but it's not with taxes taken out. It's hard, And if you want to own a home and have a mortgage and stuff, you know what I mean? You got to make money out here and you got to be a hustler to do it out here.
And I wanted to touch on what you were saying about, we're buying from you. That's something I think a lot of brands, some of them recognize, and they actually abuse a lot of sales reps in the industry.
Yes.
They kind of steal their Rolodex of sales and
yes,
them that's got that into the store.
Yes.
I can tell you without a doubt that if certain sales reps come in here, I'll just buy their stuff because they're my friend. And it sucks.
I know.
I'm gonna buy it again. But I'll always give you that chance because you and I built a relationship. I don't know that brand. That brand today is here. It can be gone
tomorrow.
But guess who's still gonna be here? You and me are still gonna be here. And so you and I have to work together.
Right.
And your job is to go out and find me the best fucking weed.
Yeah.
My job to fucking put it on the shelf and sell it.
Yes.
And for us to all work together. And so so those brands out there that have a little twisted that
they do.
They really need to start appreciating their sales reps. I see a lot of sales reps getting abused and taken advantage of, and it breaks my heart because I'm like, that's really not fair.
I know.
It's really not fair what they're doing. And it also makes me go, how will work with that brand either?
Yeah.
The next sales rep in here, I'm definitely not buying it because I just saw how you treated this person, and I have a good relationship with her.
Yeah. So going back on that, I lost 2 jobs in one day. I lost about $375,000 in one day. I was let go from, should I say the company's names? I was let go from Emerald Sun in one day, and I was let go from Forefront in one day. And Forefront did the big merger of the MSO, so that was a big thing with Island and merged in. And so I lost with commissions and with everything in one day. And I had a couple side brands I was hustling at that time. But that's when I said to myself, I will never, this is when the market was really starting to crash. So this is about 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. I was like, I will never put my livelihood in someone for a paycheck like this ever again. Because right then and there, I'm thinking about my kids' private school. I'm thinking about, holy shit, my mortgage. I'm starting to think about all this lifestyle. It's one thing to create a lifestyle. It's another thing to sustain it. And I was like, wow, so I'm glad that happened to me because it put me in a position where I won't allow that again. I will never allow that again. So when I had the call with Stizzy, I'm like, I love it. It sounds great, but I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in if I say something wrong or if I don't sell this, I'm let go. I dictate my dollar amount. I'm going to dictate where I'm going to be, what time I'm going to be there. And hey, and if I'm not producing your X amount of number a month, let me go. Didn't work. Sorry. It could have been me or it could have been the product. So I will go back to this. There's one brand that everyone just doesn't like for some reason, but not everyone. They have something to say about it, but they have really realized that in me and they've put a lot of time and effort into me. And I'm honored to have the position and the role that I have with them for the director of sales. And I just implement that with my sales team to just stand up and just get out there and do your job. And when you show your value and your worth, you dictate the job, not them, because this is your job. Yes, they pay you X amount. Yes, this happens. But if they don't like something, your book is going to move with you. They are paying you for your contacts. Yeah. Yes, once it goes into the system, it's a company. Yes, it is. Or certain. I understand that. I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, know your worth and your value and be appreciative and think of your time. And so like when I have certain people trying to tell me, oh, go over here and do this demo, or I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. It's not because my nose is in the air. That's not the best use of my time. The best use of my time is coming and sitting with you, or figuring out what you need, or how can I bring more revenue back?
Yeah.
Jax, what do you need? That is a better time for me. Not sitting behind a table with a phone that I can't look at that makes me millions of dollars and brings back revenue to you because I now I have to go back and advocate for something. And that's fine, but that's just not my role.
The brand activations only are really good in like an event setting. Like this idea of having them in the store, like customers don't want to.
It's not engaging anymore, really.
It's not. Customers don't want to talk to you. They're coming in. Most of them are on a they're trying to do something, So, I mean, I guess if you're a really busy store and you have a lot of people standing somewhere waiting, sure, that's nice. At least give them something to do other than just standing.
Right.
It depends on the brand. Like if you're actually doing a good job, like that's great. If you're just standing out there taking space, like I need this space.
Yeah. What do you guys find effectively? Like tell me a couple things that you look for on the brands.
There's two BAs that I will say without doubt they're going to show up, they're going to be engaging with the customers, and they're going to help push the sale. Most of the time, they're very intimidated to talk to customers because I think people that are becoming BAs, they're trying to get into sales.
Yeah.
They're very young. They might not have much experience in life. So for them to just see somebody walk through the door and be like, hey, come talk to me. Don't go buy your weed. It's a really hard thing. It's only need a couple people that do it. But really and honestly, like the VAs is not it. It's making sure that my staff is taken care of because
there you go.
Really your BAs, honestly.
Right.
They're going to champion your product. They're going to push it. They're going to get excited about it. So when you send me t-shirts and you give us swag merch and you give us goodie bags to give to my staff, I always make sure my staff gets taken care of in that way. That makes your brand so much more successful. I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
When the BA comes, because I don't have time. Well, it's very costly to get all your staff together. Like get 30 people. Like,
for the trainings you're talking about.
Like, how are you going to do training? So when a VA comes and they get to know the staff and they get to, I'm like, okay, obviously don't interrupt them when they're working, when we're busy. But if you can give them education about your brand, I would love that.
Right.
And then let them, instead of you catching all the customers and trying to sell them flour when they're looking for edible or something.
Yeah.
Then you train the staff they'll tell the person about your promo if they're looking for flour. Like, oh, yeah, you're looking for flour, and we have this right here promo, and just give out stickers, like punk your stuff, but talk to the budtender. Like that's what we need. And I'd love to have, like maybe more like video, like I've thought different ideas,
like TVs with videos showing things.
I mean, just like videos like a post on the website about every brand.
I like that.
Also know the budtenders can do, but just like PowerPoint editing, like things that I can educate my staff without all of them having to physically be in the room at the same time, because it's just not a reality. Yeah, because one of the trainings come a lot of the times, they're like, can we go and carve out 2 hours for a staff training? And I'm like, no, I can give you 30 minutes of their time, and then they need to go back to being on the sales floor, because I'm usually pulling them off the sales floor and having to go down there myself or whatever, so that they can go do that training. And a lot of retailers, like, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, skeleton crews, I know.
It's not,
I know.
Have overstaffage. I mean, I've even heard about people going into stores that they used to go into, and there'd be 10 budtenders working there, and there's all 2.
I know.
So we don't, a lot of the retailers, we don't have that type of time to do that. So yeah, sending your BN, letting them know, like, hey, is it okay if I educate your staff while I'm here? Great. That's a good use of your time. That's a good use of the brand's time. Giving out stickers, giving out little goodie bags to customers, and not that they purchased the product. I see that happening. It's like,
right.
You have a lanyard if you buy it, odd. It's like, no, just give them the lanyard.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy it next time. Like, you need to just get the brand in their mind.
Yeah.
And then they'll go buy it, because that's the psychology of sales. Like,
right.
That's why the Nike sells it. All you have to see is a check mark.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's Nike. And you're gonna go buy that. And when you think of sports shoes, and when you think of vape cartridges, and you got that Stizzy lanyard, guess what you're gonna go buy? A Stizzy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a good mean of it. But mostly, just focusing on making sure our staff knows your product and what the whole story is behind it, so that they can retell that to the customer. The 2 hours of your BAB here is not going to
It's not, and it's probably going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
I only just want like 70 cents a mile now. They're paying them like $25, $30 an hour because they don't have
I know.
those shifts. So it's a hard gig, you know, for both parties, the VA and the brand. So that's just my suggestion. They also represent your brand. So if you're VA,
I know. I've had this so many times. Brutal. I know. And then they not yell at me, but you guys get frustrated with me. And I understand that. And then I got to say, hey, listen, I don't do metric. I don't package it. I don't label it. The BA, you know, staffing hires a BA. I'm sorry. Sometimes everyone, you know, but please don't take this out on me. You know, I got to remind people that because, and it's good too, because on the buyer end, you guys on the retailer, you guys remind me some things too. Like when I'm trying to reach out for ARs or different things. Hey, I'm the buyer, Gina. Here's your AR accounting, you know. So we all have different roles and different departments and things. And sometimes it gets lost in translation several times. So yeah, it's just good to remember that.
yeah, it is. We all have to be, you know, aware of each other.
Yeah.
They're worrying and dealing with different things.
And it's just feedback. Like you hope that, you know, like we don't sit there, like take things personally. Like we take that feedback. We're like, hey, like how can we do better? You know, on the other end, like I'm not like Dex. Well, I don't do the direct buying for my store, but I can't buy a brand based on a person. Because then if it doesn't do well, then that's like you've lost your shot at that.
Yeah.
Right? And then it does change over so quick. So if I buy a brand that I don't like based on the salesperson and they next week are like, oh, by the way, I'm not working with that brand. I'm working with this brand on here. Then you're like, oh, well, now I'm just stuck with this brand. I don't have you.
Yeah.
And now I'm like stuck back in the corner.
Yeah.
And so it really does, like, you know, like the people really matter. And it's a bonus, right? Like the brand. And then the bonus is like the person that you can communicate with
Right.
in like a good way.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating is when I bring on a brand doing really well, brand, everybody's happy, sales reps are I'm happy, customers are happy, and then they literally fire everybody, and then their inventory dips, and they start sending in new salespeople.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what has happened? You know, you just picked up a company, you emailed me about those edible companies, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. They've liquidated their team twice.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, so now you're my person now? And it's like, what are you guys doing over there? Like,
This is great feedback to hear.
Yeah, you're not making me as your person want to keep working with you guys because like you guys are like literally making it really hard to work with you guys like at this point. So and back to you said I don't speak Greek, but she sells our phones.
No, she does. She gives me a little bit of a runaround, which is good. I gotta work for my money, honey.
Yeah, you know. I don't just give it out, but no, I mean, I do trust those reps. There's certain reps that I do trust that if they're working for a company or they're working for a brand, that I trust that they've thought about what they're going to be selling, and I take that into account.
Well, sometimes let me hit on the ringer with that. I will say sometimes a brand like the one you're talking about, it gets to a spot where you've hired people to just kind of get it going, like reps, and those reps
can't take you further.
Correct. And so there's two components to this. There's ones that are like, oh, we need to save less money. You know, we're paying her $10,000 a month in commissions. Holy cow. And they're looking and they're adding all this stuff up and they're doing their numbers. And we could get this person for cheaper, right? Okay, there's that side.
And don't need them at all. They'll just
take it in-house, take it in-house. And then there's a side of like what I just said to you that sometimes the sales reps that they hire in the beginning, you know, they're suitable for that time, but they really don't know how to do SKU differentiation, which is what I'm teaching people, how to go left and right on the shelf, explaining to your buyer if they're open and want to hear it, because at the end of the day, this is your role, you're successful at it, and I can't come in and tell you how to do it or what I think.
Right.
But I can give you suggestions. And for some stores that I can see are hurting a little bit, I will give a little bit of a direction. If you're receptive to it, then I will continue to kind of say, hey, I would do X, Y, Z, and, you know, the revenue on this product. And just so you know, this is our number one seller and different things like that. A lot of these sales reps, and I know because I manage and I've hired them and I've seen it, they don't ask and they don't try to upsell. They just take the order, and that's okay. That's good. I mean, it's good in a sense, right? But you got to be diverse and you got to understand who you have on the other side of you and what that store's needs and wants are. And if you don't ask and you're not really knowledgeable on their menu and you don't really know the demographic at where the store is at, is this prevalent area? Is this affluent? Like where, you know what I mean? Then you don't even know what you're going to sell in there. Yeah. Because everything I sell in my 18 brands doesn't go in every store. No. It just doesn't, And so once you kind of realize that and you understand that, you can sell better. And that's a big disconnect I think a lot of sales reps have, because A, they just think because they're getting orders that they're growing. B, they don't really ask. And C, they don't really evaluate or know what's even really going on. Right. And so if you don't know all those, how do you grow your stores? Right. So one thing I excel at is getting a product in, not being pushy, developing that relationship with the buyer and understanding where demographically they're at, what they need, or looking at their menu and I'm seeing that they have 7 grams and I have 7 grams. I'm like, hey, this one's XYZ. Why do you buy that one? Oh, the bud on that, it's bigger, this or that. Well, why don't you just try a case out? We'll figure it out. If it doesn't work, I'll do a buyback program for you. But I really think that this will work well because there's a shop, 12 miles away and they bang with it. And if people are driving 12 miles to go get that, you can retain the customers right here in this zone.
Very similar.
And you're very similar. Yeah. And then most of the time it works. And then they start to trust in me and they'll do their SKU differentiation. So I think that with the company that you're talking about, a lot of it is the growth of the company and the speed of it. And you have to find the right people to put the baby in, right?
That's interesting.
And if they're not developing it and they're not doing it the right way, they can't really grow. Like they're growing, their sales are going up, they're moving product. But how are you really growing?
Right.
What's the growth speed at? Like, what's it looking like?
I guess we've never really thought about it from the phrase perspective.
Yeah.
I think that the sales team that you started out with is probably not going to be the sales team that's going to carry you
correct
to the next level. Like, that's interesting.
Some are and
some aren't.
Yeah, some are and some aren't, And
well, I'm sure you could probably have some that will evolve themselves.
And that's why I really like what I've created in my curation and my portfolio, because everything I've brought to life. I got a couple bigger brands, you're aware of them, and they do stuff on their own. But a lot of my other brands, I've had to market it. I've had to get out there. I've had to put my own dollars into just figuring out how to make this work. I don't mind doing that. That's my business.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiates me from other sales reps.
Right. That's why you do.
Oh, yeah. Working with almost 400 clients, I don't really know another sales rep that maybe does that. I mean, I'm in my head, I know a few, not a lot though. They're all stuck into Sacramento or, East Bay or whatever it be. And my skill and my tactic is I need a Rolodex everywhere, because when the market crashed and if I was only a key account holder and the MedMen and the Perfect Union and the High Times and all those collapse, where would my money be? I got $1 million in AR that's never being collected. And I'm a sales rep, so I just lost my whole book. Yeah. So I'm very diverse and dynamic at how I move, the way I do it, and where I put my time. Once again, time,
what
into.
What are you seeing in the industry right now that's like the thing that's kind of working for everything?
What do you mean we're working for everybody?
It's not working for everybody, but you just...
Oh, that what's working for everybody?
Yeah, not necessarily everybody, but the majority of people, you're like, this is really seeming to be working.
I've seen a higher demand on the value products. I feel like everyone has kind of became more value driven. I'm not saying the Fig Farms and the Cam and the Up North don't move. They still move. They still push their weight. But I think a lot of those 32 unit orders have gone down to 16 and chopping up the strains and stuff. But the value's got to be packaged better. It's got to be promoted better. It's got to be marketed better. You actually got to give out a pre-roll now. Before when you were value, it was like, hey, this is $6 and it just is what it is. Now the value has to actually push and show up. And those are my brands. So
worked up for the value brands. Then
it has become hard, yeah. And some of them, they're not really making any money.
Your profits
have now gone smaller, slimmer, yeah. And then you have people like me who are like, you're going to have to pay me this much.
I was looking online and somebody was saying that like you're winning if you're making 20% margins off of your products, like a brand or whatever. And I was like, 20%? Like that's crazy.
So small, I know.
Yeah, it's so small, but that's just...
I would maybe even say it's smaller than that. 15, 20, yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like if you're making 20% margin,
yeah.
you know, so it's
Yeah.
crazy. And that's on the brand side, wholesale. We're not talking about retail. It's a different ball game altogether. That is one thing that irritates me in the retail brand side is that the brands get mad at retailers that they want to apply their margins to it and they're not understanding the overhead that retail has to carry all the time. Like we were talking about earlier, like
With the tax.
the tax, the employees, the insurance, the rent, that doesn't stop coming just because I've got slowed sales, like all of that. So it's like, unfortunately, I know brands love it when it's a 50-50 split on the sale.
Right.
But if I'm not, and then that's another thing they don't understand is that a lot of us deal with seniors and veterans and they want discounts.
Right.
So,
Right. And as they should.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But if I'm offering
I
a
understand,
10%
yeah.
discount onto a senior product and I've got it marked at a 50% margin, well, now I've made less money than you did.
Right.
So in a way, I think brands need to understand that retailers have to deal with a lot of different things.
Dynamics.
The sales.
Yeah.
And that we have to protect that margin. And so when we see a retailer selling it for more than a 50% margin, yeah, they're doing that to protect themselves so they can continue to sell their product because they're dealing with the customer that's going to request a discount all the time. I mean, I don't offer a first-time discount. People ask for it all the time. I don't do that because I want customers that are here to stay, not customers that
Right.
just hop around from store to store.
Right.
But we still have the senior, the veteran population that demands it. You know?
Right.
And I think that they should have it, you know, especially the veterans.
Yeah.
I'm all for the veterans
Right. Me too.
having it 100%.
And I like the seniors too, because typically at a certain
I like to think
age.
it's like our payback to them for having to deal with all being illegal. That's what
Oh, yeah, that's
we get a
true.
discount. I'm like, well, yeah, you guys.
I wasn't even thinking on
you
that
guys have to
route.
deal with it being illegal. So
I
this is
was-
our little give back to you.
Yeah, I was just thinking because they're on a set income. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that too.
So,
That's
you know, a
that
lot of
too.
them get their Social Security or whatever it is, and they're just set on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like
No,
that.
for sure.
But I think, you know, honestly, I think that, yeah, I think that the value became a huge sector and it's needed and it's wanted. But I
Yeah.
still feel holding your prices and doing what you guys need to do on the sales end is great. And I understand that you need to do that. I just think that we got to get a lot more strategic on how to keep those numbers up
I
and
agree.
keep it selling. And that's something that I'm getting really creative with, and I'm helping my retailers. I'm launching a program over in Richmond at one of my larger scale clients, and we've created some really cool baskets, and we're putting some things in there. And I can't give it all away because you got to go on my website to do
Yeah,
that.
I was seeing you on your Instagram. talking about that.
Yeah, so Holistic
Yeah.
Healing, they're one of my powerhouse accounts for the East Bay.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, they've been around for 15 years. They're in Richmond. It's a woman owned. I love her. Her name is Rebecca. She's a powerhouse girl in this community. She does a lot of advocating and she does a lot of different stuff for her community. I love working for people like that. I love supporting that movement. And I say without them as one of my clients, I wouldn't be where I'm at today with all my brands. She lets me go in there and I curate her menu and I do a lot of way more things that I've shown her my value for her to be like, okay, Gina, do what you need to do, because I've actually shown her my value. I don't just walk in and say, today I got this, it's $8. So I got this for $6. You know, I go in there and I say, let's look at inventory, let's figure some stuff out. And I'm implementing a system over there, and I'm getting some combo deals and some certain stuff. And I launched it with
How are customers receiving the combo deals?
So we're gonna launch it.
Oh,
We're in the process of it yet, but I did do an SF at a spot, and they're up 25%
Wow.
sales in 45 days.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
I like that.
And I'm really happy about that. It's really rewarding. It's great that someone will trust their revenue dollar into what I have to say. And it's great that it makes me want to tear up that the buyers and the team and the staff trust me that much to do that. And I told them, hey, it's not going to get any worse. It'll only get better.
Might as well try it.
Try it. And so we did some cool things. And yeah, they've seen a lot of growth. And I don't, want to say too much about the spot or anything. But he's happy, I'm happy. And so now I got to figure out a continuous system to keep rewarding and doing certain things like that right now.
Yeah. I do love, for my story, like I really appreciate when brands are able to get promo products. 'Cause I do know
Yeah.
it is. And I do not, for something, you do not really agree with retailers that take the promo products and then market it for full price, because not is your incentive to get these products moving.
Right.
So it helps the products move off of our shelves. Two, it helps the freshness of everything. Because one thing that I combat in the store and even in my own brand, like it's really hard, is how do you keep it fresh? Like,
Right.
How do you keep all the flower fresh? Because we're dealing with something that is a plant. It has a shelf life, and after a few months, it deteriorates to a point where it changes, and it's a completely different product when you started to now something that's been sitting there for a while. And so, like that really does help, because then you're also getting rid of, making sure that things aren't sitting
selling through in a timely manner.
your distro and shelves also.
Well, for me, the problem thing with the brands is trusting. So if a brand is trusting to send me something for free, we'll say for a penny, whatever, it's a trust thing for me to then go ahead and use that appropriately, because they could have sold that product. They could have done something else with that product and made the money off of it. And it's really not fair and it's kind of a little slimy to do, especially if the brand didn't tell you that was okay. Like I have brands that are like, we're just going to send you 2 cases of pre-rolls. You can do whatever you want with them. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
We'll sell some, we'll promo some, whatever. Right. But when they send them to you and they're like, this is a promo case because that product's been sitting for so long and we want to see that start moving.
Correct.
And then they're selling that, which I know is a big thing that happens.
I agree with you.
It's just rude and disrespectful.
Well, it puts me in a bad spot, because then you're calling me and you're like, hey, these units are still here. And then I'm like, okay, 1 second. I'm looking, then I look through the invoice and I'm like, oh, I sent you 32 units of the pre-rolls. And you're like, oh, I don't know what happened with them. And then right there, I know what happened. And I'm thinking in my head, I know. And then I'm thinking in my head, like, hold on a second. So now I'm triple down the hole.
Yeah.
I know I got to go back to this brand. And the brand's like, well, we already sent them product, Gina. And I'm like, I know, I don't know. We just please get them the 32 units, And those are hard conversations to have.
Yeah.
And I understand and I get it sometimes. So I'm, it comes by situation based, obviously. But yeah, I agree with you on that.
I don't think it's fair. I think that's about the trust in a relationship thing.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Gina. And I'm so glad that you sat down with us today and shared all of your wonderful insight on the real tough sales world. And I think that we could go ahead and wrap it up. Do you have anything else you'd like to tell? We like to ask everybody for like a good quote line. So just your statement.
If you want growth, tap in with GinaAlvarez.co.
Perfect. And then what's your Instagram?
Gina Sells NorCal.
Okay. And then you got a website?
Yeah. GinaAlvarez.co.
Okay. There we go. Awesome. Well,
tap in for growth.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, you guys. It was really nice to sit next to 2 leading ladies in the industry. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to all of you watching and listening at home or on the road or wherever you are tuning into She Sells Weed. We really appreciate it. And as always, if you can go ahead and drop us a comment or a like, little review, 5 stars. It really helps us grow the channel. And we'd love to hear from you. And if you guys ever have questions for our guests, drop us a line. We can make a connection. Or if you need maybe you're a retailer out there that wants Gina's help, like I can get you connected. And we hope all of you guys have a great day. And we'll see you next time.